A four-star kid with roots, deep roots in Arizona State territory is visiting us for his first official visit for the class of 2028. Does beg the question, though, is that a good thing or is that going to hurt us?
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Sun Devils. Happy Friday. There was no practice yesterday, which means it's a perfect opportunity to get caught up in the significant amounts of recruiting news that has been happening as we've been covering the day-to-day practice stuff. Happy first day, if you're an Arizona State student. Happy, I guess, second day of classes. We're recording this on the first day. But Parker, we're just going to get right into it here. There's a four-star guy, Nekhi Lambeth. His mom's an ASU alum. And he just said, yeah, my first visit of like 9 visits I'm going to go on is at Arizona State versus Morgan State. On the one hand, that seems great. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go to Arizona State first. But also that means that is not going to be the last taste in his mouth, the last memory he has as he starts to try to pare these things down, moving into signing day and moving into as he figures out where he wants to go.
And it's really interesting to see that, Phil, because we've seen the recruiting landscape change. I mean, it's changed so much from the past decade. I'm very interested to see how visits have changed recruiting-wise. Because I remember back a couple of years ago, before the whole NIL situation, visits were strategically planned where you wanted like the most impactful visits on the big games, the highlight visits when you're playing the big rivalry games, the big matchups, national television games, the homecoming games. And sometimes you would have those towards the end of the season as well. But I'm really interested to see if, with this modern landscape, does having games at the start of the season, does having those visits, does it give you an extra edge with all the windows that are here? Does it give you a chance to get it ahead of the game with all the visits that you eventually have to get into? Because let's face it, Phil, in this modern age of recruiting, you have to go after so many people. You have to not only do you have to focus on guys, but you kind of have to spread yourself thin in order to keep up with all the other teams.
Yeah, you got to remember that this is a golden ticket guy in Nekhi Lambeth. He's a cornerback. He's number 5 in the state. Great, right? He's a golden ticket guy. You got to assume Jake Hildebrand's going to be in his ear saying, hey, this is how that works. But I'm with you. It's like Morgan State as our great opportunity to show off the program. It's like, man, I know we don't have as high profile home games this year as we did last year. You know, all of our difficult games are on the road, but I mean, I would much rather this be, I don't know, the Kansas State game maybe or something. Like, I would rather this be a game where it's midseason, we're playing against a good team, and you get to see the whole force and fury of the Inferno it's rocking, it's all that's fun. And while I think we will have a decent amount of students in the Inferno, I'm sure you're going to be there, Parker. Morgan State is like, if I'm a big football fan, I'm going to that game because I'm trying to go to every single home game that I can. But if I'm like a casual fan, why am I suffering on September 9th? Why am I sweating and melting in the stands like within the first month of college when I know we're going to win this game. We're going to win it by 40, I hope. And it's like, yeah, I just don't know that he's going to get the atmosphere that has turned Mountain America Stadium into realistically one of the most difficult places to play in the Big 12.
And you can look at it from that angle, Phil, but also you can look at it that this is an Arizona guy. This is a guy who knows what Arizona is like in September. This is a guy that has gone through, that has going to go through a lengthy recruiting process. So why not start out with a team at home? Why not start out with a team that has a lot of question marks, Arizona State, where they might look their best against Morgan State, at least scoreboard wise, to start off the year? Because we know what a trail this Arizona State team has, at least to start this season, going all over the place. And really, that's what I'm trying to get to is the start of this season, ASU is going to have to be road warriors. That's a big part, is ASU has to really backload their visits just because, look at the start of this season, Phil. You have Texas A&M on the road, Kansas, then you have Baylor and Hawaii. Now, Baylor and Hawaii, those are good games, but those are in the start of October. So really, if you want those early season visits, you have to get it in at Morgan State.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, I'm looking at this as like recruits aren't looking at their college visits on the function of like, well, did the school I'm looking at joining, did they trounce their opponent? I mean, I'm sure some of that is there. Like you go to Alabama and Alabama struggles against UAB or something. You're like, okay, maybe not. But a lot of what they're looking at is like, can I contribute to this team? What's the culture like? What's the football culture like? Am I going to be appreciated here? Am I going to fit in here? And a lot of that again is what is what is it like to play in their home stadium in a big game? And that's not something you're going to get. But on the other hand, he's saying, yeah, like I'm going to look at ASU first. That's going to be my baseline. It's going to be my standard. And this is a class of 2028 guy. He's said there's like, I want to pare it down to like 10 teams as I start to move into 2027 and figure that all out and kind of move on in my process. So if you stay in there, you get high, you say, well, hey, you stay high in the ranking. Hey, Michigan. Hey, Georgia. You don't really do it that much better than Arizona State. I don't know. Again, I think I would rather have him towards the end of his visit to say like, okay, you've seen these other schools. Look at what we are in peak form. It's not going to happen here. And again, as you said, his mom is an Arizona State alum. That's got to count for something. You got to assume he's going to be in a similar situation where like he grew up going to Arizona State games. He's at Desert Edge. Kind of that Jake Hildebrand approach of you just have a lot of experience, as you're saying, with the brand and what it's like to be at a big game at Arizona State.
Yeah, and I do think that it does help at the end of the day having a points compared to, but I think it also helps out more that you have Arizona State at the start, because then you have a point to constantly compare things to. It's always in your mind. I mean, I know I never went through a college recruitment process for athletics, but when I was going through like looking at schools, first school that I toured was Arizona State, and what I kept in mind was, hey, all right, I'm looking at this school. What do they have compared to X school? What do they have compared to this first school that I visited? Is it better? Is it worse? I think that could give Arizona State an edge when it comes to these first couple schools that they visit. Now, obviously, these are heavy-hitting schools,
Oh, yeah.
Phil. They're Auburn, they're Georgia, Texas A&M, all the major schools that you can imagine. But still having Arizona State in mind as like an early comparison, being like, okay, this is a baseline. It could help Arizona State out in certain ways.
I hope so. I really do, because we're at the point where, on the one hand, right now, we're not focusing on like a big high school recruiting class. Now, that may change with the PCSA and the Protect College Sports Act and how we are, you may be limited to one transfer and this kind of free-for-all NIL thing may change. But as of right now, because that didn't pass, this is the world we live in. So we are really, what seems like Arizona State is doing is focusing on the big names, the top 10 in the state, the Nekhi Lambeths, the Jake Hildebrands of the world. So I would really like to see these golden ticket guys in particular. I'd like to see them land, and we're going to have to see just how effective that visit is going to be. And hopefully we're going to see him trend forward, and we're going to continue to have a deep secondary. That's also got to be something, going into this. You talk about what's going to happen. He's going to see the best secondary that Kenny Dillingham has had in his career, just feasting on Morgan State, and be able to kind of put himself in that position and see Josiah McGrew, somebody can learn from, and see how that culture is going. So hopefully that helps. But when we talk about golden tickets, there's one school in particular that really has started to turn into a pipeline in an era where we are trying to rebuild this Arizona State, this state of Arizona recruiting pipeline. There is one school that has really seemingly bought into the Arizona State story. Since 1986, the game has been creating classic college hats that fans are proud. I mean, I'm wearing one right now. I'm proud to wear it. Whether you're an alumnus, a current student, a season ticket holder, just someone who never misses a game. You moved to the Valley later on, you saw Sparky, and you like the logo. A great college hat is more than just apparel. It's a great way to represent your school, like wherever you go. And this year, the game is celebrating their 40th anniversary by giving you a chance to save on some of their most iconic college hats. If you've been thinking about replacing an old favorite or just adding a new one, now is the perfect time. And it's also just a nice signifier. You walk around, someone sees your Arizona State hat on, and they're like, hey, go Devils. And I'm like, yeah, go Devils. That's awesome. How was the game? How'd you like the game yesterday? It's just a nice signifier, and it keeps those Wildcats away. So with hundreds of officially licensed college stats to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit for game day and every day. Don't miss this chance to celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off your entire order. Visit thegamecaps.com and use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. Again, that is thegamecaps.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Celebrate 40 years with 40% off. But don't wait. This anniversary deal will not last forever. On the one hand, golden tickets going off to everyone in the state, but Parker, Basha in particular has really turned into a feeder of top, not just of players, but top tier players for Arizona State. But before we get into that, if you have enjoyed the content that we've been putting out for the last little bit, or just this episode today, make sure you go like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications. Tell us what position moving forward you're paying most attention to in this kind of recruiting cycle. For me, I think it's the linebacker group, because we are so deep there that we're only going to take up one linebacker in the class of 2027. But in general, yeah, Parker, when we talk about Basha, this, especially now with Mikey, Barth, with Jake Hildebrand, looking at the class of 2028, this does seem to be a program that has really bought into this kind of golden ticket story, this Arizona State hometown hero story that Kenny Dillingham has really been selling.
Basha, I feel like, has always had solid connections to ASU, but not to the degree that we've really seen over these past 2 seasons. It's really seemed like overall, I would say a culture shift has happened that has really just clicked with Basha, and that's what's led to, at least, Hildebrand, that's the big highlight guy, but tons of high-quality recruits that came out of Basha have had Arizona State at least in their top 3, and that's big when it comes to continuously getting Basha recruits and getting those guys to eventually commit in droves to Arizona State because they produce high-quality products. And that's what we've seen in this upcoming class. I mean, the 2 big guys that pop out to me, Mikey Nelson and Landon Wade, those are 2 guys from Basha, both on different sides of the ball. I believe a defensive lineman and a wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken. But those are 2 guys that are high-quality players that are coming out of Basha. And we've already seen, and we've already taken note of Jake Hildebrand being like, hey, he's kind of the flag bearer of not just Basha products, not just Phoenix High School products, but Arizona High School guys just being like, hey, stay in state, go to Arizona State. It's the move, and it's looking like it's being infectious to his high school teammates.
Yeah, it really is. And it's worth noting as well. You mentioned the 2 guys out of, I want to say it was 8 golden tickets this last year, something like that. It's telling that it has been these Basha guys, because, Kenny Dillingham is pretty wide open about this, where he's like, yeah, we're not just giving our golden tickets to the top 10, top 8, top 6, however many offers they want to give, just the top X number of players in the state. We are giving it to guys that reciprocate our advances, that we think are likely to take advantage of it. Because it doesn't make sense if, you take Desert Horizons and they just have no interest in going to Arizona State, and you're just like, okay, we wasted this. And it's telling that a year after Jake Hildebrand accepted his golden ticket offer, again, we have the number 1 kicker in the country coming in Mikey Barth as well out of that class, that of the golden tickets that were offered for the class of 2028, you have these 2 guys. Like that tells me that, yeah, this is a program, not just a couple guys, but this is a program that is buying in. And the best part about that, Parker, when you talk about one program starting to buy in and seeing success at the next level, which is going to take a little bit longer, that's something that can spread across the state a little bit more. Because again, this has been a situation where Herm Edwards destroyed our Arizona pipeline, but it does feel like Basha is really the first domino falling in this redevelopment of the in-state pipeline.
It definitely is. And it's a slow process, and really that's what I've heard when hearing coaches answer that question. To rebuild a pipeline, especially in state, it's not something that happens overnight, because Arizona prospects, deep down, they all have a connection to Arizona universities, but there is so much of a pull to go out of state, go to those big schools, that it's kind of hard to reestablish that pipeline. But what we've seen is Kenny Dillingham over these past couple seasons. Yes, he's hit the transfer portal hard. Yes, he's gone out to California and Texas and those pipelines. But I would say these past 2.5 seasons, we've seen him refocus on the state of Arizona and get local guys. And that's both from a high school perspective, but we've also seen in the transfer portal he go out there and get guys that started out in Arizona that started out at Arizona high schools that has since gone elsewhere and have brought them back. And that is huge for getting local guys back, and that's huge for high schools. I know I've seen several high schools on like Instagram, social media. Once their guys go back to a state school in Arizona, they're posting about it. And that's good publicity for them because you know what? Then they can send their guys to go to Arizona State games and watch Arizona State football games and be like, yes, 5 years ago, that guy was tearing it up in the state playoffs. Like, it's huge. It's great publicity, and it's really great for the state of Arizona as a whole as well.
Yeah, and we've been saying this for a while. There is the mark of an elite program, which I don't, as high as I am on Kenny Dillingham, even with the questions of fall practice and the tight end room and the line and all the offensive line and all these things, like, is our quarterback going to develop in time? On a whole, we're not there yet. We're not elite. But we're getting there. And I think year over year, we are seeing that progress. And one of the marks of an elite program is not only its ability to go out to Texas and to California and to, Colorado and bring in a tight end or, go across the country. Its ability to go out and get those guys while defending your own recruiting turf, while making sure that you look at someone from Birmingham, Alabama. Their first 9 times out of 10, the school they want to go to play football, if they're a football prospect, is going to be Alabama. And if Alabama passes on them for the most part, then they might go elsewhere. Who knows? They might get $5 million as a freshman to go play for Georgia. It changes things a little bit. But someone growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, wants to go most likely to play football at University of Georgia. We haven't seen that yet out of all the Arizona guys wanting to go to Arizona State. But we are starting to see that again a little bit more every year. A couple more Arizona guys come back through the transfer portal, as you're saying. Every year, a couple more guys come in from Arizona State high schools and start to build that up. Oh, and by the way, some of our best prospects, I mean, not all of them. We talk about the Texas Devils, but some of our best prospects are Arizona guys. It's not just us taking the high 2, low 3 stars that can't go anywhere else. We're actually getting quality guys out of the state, which is as important as making sure we get guys out of the state in the first place.
I think the baseline of being an elite program is being able to be selective with your in-state guys, because that's what those great programs do. Because even though, as you said, guy from Birmingham, Alabama probably wants to go to the University of Alabama, but the University of Alabama, they can be selective with their guys. They don't have to go after all these in-state guys because they can also go out of state after all those high-caliber guys. I would say the dream goal for Arizona State is to all the golden ticket guys commit, because those are the guys that you want. That's the baseline. You run the state of Arizona. You go after the guys that you want, the 8 best prospects that you want in the state of Arizona, and you're able to get them all. I would say that's like the dream baseline, obviously. Like, that's a dream scenario. But that would be officially, in my mind, Arizona State being an elite recruiting program, is if you're able to go and be like, all right, these are the guys that we're targeting. And even though all these major schools are going after them, and at least if we're able to get 90% of them, that would be the establishment right there, Phil.
Yeah, for me, it's the ability to break through into Desert Edge as well. That is the school, to the best of my understanding, where they are not super high on Arizona State because we didn't take one of their guys a couple years ago who ended up not having the best college career anyways. But that's the one where it's like really hard to break through. That's where some of the best players in the state of Arizona come out of. And yes, we do give some, the guy we talked about in the first segment, Nekhi Lambeth, is a Desert Edge guy, but his mom went to ASU. You got some connection there. If we could break through into that school in particular and stop their best players from snubbing us on their fall visits, that is really, as you're saying, where we start to go into that next level.
This episode of Locked On Sun Devils is brought to you by FanDuel. Think you know who's going to go deep today? Call your shot every day with free daily dingers. This is how it works. You make your pick on who hits the home run in their next game, and if you're right, you get a profit boost on your next bet. Free pick every day, all season in the MLB. Another great way to stay engaged with games all throughout the MLB season. It's a long season, but it's a great way to keep up with it. And as a Sun Devil fan, I don't know if you could tell by us doing this show or the Jeff Sims flag in the background, I love keeping up with ASU guys, and Spencer Torkelson, I hope he does well. He's had a little over 19 home runs this season, and it's always a good bet, always a good thing to see him And you know what? Maybe take a chance on them with some daily dingers. So join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick. An official partner of the MLB.
As much as we've been high on getting the in-state guys, and we talked about, as much as we talked about Nekhi Lambeth and some other top in-state talent coming in, being part of their fall visit structure, the best defensive guy in the entire state, one of the best in the country, Jelani George, did not get a golden ticket offer because he's from Desert Edge, and they just don't seem to be receptive. And he's not taking a visit to ASU. He's going to Auburn, he's going to Florida, Miami, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Washington. But Parker, one of the top talents in the entire state, he's kind of the Jake Hildebrand of last year, not giving us any love whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I wonder how much it is that ASU is, I wouldn't say really okay with it, but how much ASU is focusing on other guys at the same time, because this is a very loaded Arizona State in-state class for Arizona and Arizona State. And let's look at it. There are a lot of guys that are looking at big-time schools. I mean, across the board with the guys that Arizona State's focusing on. Keaton Fields comes to mind, but even the names that we've talked about earlier, they're looking at big-time schools. Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas A&M, Auburn, just big-time schools. In Arizona State, you have to use a lot of facilities to go after even, I would say, a handful of these guys. But the fact that Arizona State is going after, I would say, 7 to 8 of them actively, relentlessly, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily planning on being like, oh, George, we're not going to go after him. It was more so, you could say it was almost mutual in a way where George is like, not really looking at that. Okay, well, that means we can focus our whole effort on these other guys. Could it be a worrying sign, Phil? Yes. But could it be better for ASU in the long run? Potentially. I think there's multiple ways to look at it.
It's just frustrating to me. Right. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. He's not showing any warmth towards Arizona State. Not worth trying to go, like, it's not worth trying to melt a stone or whatever the idiom you want to choose is. It's just not worth it. Right. You're, as you said, it's better used your efforts are better used elsewhere. But this is a consistent thing that happens with this school in particular, with Desert Edge. And it makes me wonder what it's going to take. Like, is it Arizona State having 3 years back to back of 10-win seasons to now be in the running for these guys? Is it, Kenny Dillingham meeting with their coach? Because again, the story I hear is that we passed on one of their guys a couple years ago, and they kind of, under a previous coaching administration, by the way, and it's never really recovered. So like, what does it take to stop being snubbed by at least this section of our state's best talent?
And I don't really know if there's a clear-cut answer for it. I think it's more so an offer you can't refuse to say, and I think it's up to Arizona State, because Arizona State, eventually you just have to be the ball has to be in the ball has to be in their court, because the dream is Arizona State is such a good program that they can look past everything and just be like, okay, it's this kid's decision. Arizona State is a great program, hands down. There's no other program that can compare to it. He can go there. Eventually, that's what you have to do. Eventually, it just has to be, okay, Arizona State is on such a pedestal that why even worry about that? That was so long ago. Eventually, that in my mind, that's what it has to be.
Yeah, I'm hoping, and hopefully this year. I mean, again, I'm a little worried about our team. I think you and I, we talked about the schedule. We're like, maybe floor 7-5, ceiling 9-3, somewhere kind of in that area. I'm a little worried with how our team looks. And I think this year in particular is really important for the future of recruiting the state, because we are getting momentum. We talked about that in the first 2 segments about the golden tickets being a little bit more receptive, Jake Hildebrand being like the best ambassador that Arizona State could possibly have within these in-state guys. He's in their DMs, he's in their replies. But if we can't follow through this year off of, the incredible 11-3 college football playoff run, off of last year, that was, I know it's not where we wanted to be. We were supposed to win the Big 12, but given all the injuries, I'm not too upset. All the chaos of Sam Levin in the locker room and all the injuries, not too upset about it. But if we go like 7-5 this year, and then it's like, well, okay, we're trying to sell ourselves as an elite program in the state of Arizona, the elite program in the state of Arizona, and we can't execute this year in Kenny Dillingham's fourth year, in the year that probably has the most talent, even more than the 2024 year, that is going to be a problem as we try to establish our presence in the state.
And I wonder what the key factors are to that, Phil. I wonder what, if there is a secret sauce, or even if there is a plan, because we've seen it all. We've seen it all over the place, Phil. That this Arizona State coaching staff, they go after the right guys. They go after guys that they want. We've seen a refocusing on the state of Arizona, but I wonder if that's even a long-term goal of theirs, because we've seen them pattern after the state of after Kyle Whittingham's Utah program, how they recruit. I wonder if it's long-term goals, or if this is just how they want to build towards success. If there's any plans for, okay, once we hit a certain level, then we branch out. Are we just focusing on the right guys for right now, or is there a future pattern of success? I think we'll only see in years to come. It all starts with this season. I think you're right about that as well.
Yeah, and I'm really, this year in particular, I mean, it's not just, okay, we need to establish ourselves. We're a good program. We are the premier program in the state. That's the goal. But also, the class of 2028 in particular, and the 2029 as well, like 2027 through 2029, is loaded in the state of Arizona. I know you said you're like, I don't know. Do they really want to lean into the Arizona? Is that their goal? I would hope it is, especially these last couple of years. Class of 2027, which is mostly finalized. You know, we got Jake Hildebrand. But 2028 and 2029, as we were saying, like it has a lot of the top players in the country. You know, Navy, the All-American game, all that stuff. There's a lot of guys from Arizona in that list. So if there ever was a time, again, you got to win this year, because we really want some of these 2028 guys, and we need to show them that this is a program where you can go to, thrive at, win a lot of games, and get drafted. Like, that is the pipeline, and you're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. That is the goal, and it all hinges. This year's got to be good, so we're gonna have to see how that's gonna work. Of course, tomorrow there's gonna be another scrimmage. We're gonna learn a lot about the team. Again, we're gonna have a special Saturday episode to break all of that down. And then, of course, we'll be back on Monday. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to go like the video, subscribe to the channel. Parker and I would like to be able to continue to grow this thing, and that helps us out quite a bit. Of course, if you're on YouTube, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On College Network. If you are on Apple or Amazon or Spotify or any of those other podcast platforms, make sure your second listen, Locked On Big 12. Drake told us a great job, and I'm sure he's talking about all of the TCU drama that just dropped. Talk about wanting to recruit some good guys. Don't do what TCU did. That seems to be the story there. But again, for Parker and myself, I'll see you on Saturday. Maybe Parker too, but we will certainly see you on Monday.